Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. I'm Joe, and I am so happy you're here. This is the place where book lovers, authors, and industry insiders come together to talk about the stories we love and the impact they have. Before we dive in, don't forget to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you do your listening, and subscribe to the Libby App YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Yes, we do have full video episodes on YouTube and Spotify. You'll definitely want to see last week and this week's backdrop for the Halloween season, so check it out now. If you love what we're doing, consider leaving a 5-star review or commenting on YouTube. Those engagements really help more folks find the show, and I truly appreciate it. All right, podcaster things checked off. Today, we are keeping the fall spirit going by talking witchy books. Cozy witchy, cozy fantasy, and all the delightful fall magic is here. Halloween is fast approaching, and these books will help you out in the post-spooky slump before the winter festivities begin. So they'll take you from Halloween right up until the winter holidays. So be prepared for an incredible conversation in segment 1 with some amazing witchy and cozy writers from across the space. And in segment 2, our guest hosts will absolutely cast a spell on you for the perfect witchy reads to spellbind your TBR. Double double, books in trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Okay, maybe not that dramatic, but today we are stirring up some seriously magical conversation in segment 1. I am joined by 4 incredible authors who know a thing or two about crafting worlds full of witches, whimsy, and cozy vibes. Whether you're a middle grade or YA reader, someone who just loves curling up with a fantastical story, this is the perfect episode to get you into the autumnal spirit. Welcome to the Book Lounge, Claribel A. Ortega, New York Times bestselling and award-winning author and former reporter who writes middle grade and young adult fantasy inspired by her Dominican heritage. Travis Baldree, author, narrator, and erstwhile video game developer, known for the low-stakes fantasy world of Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust. Liz Montague, an author-illustrator who began as a cartoonist for The New Yorker in 2019 and known for the best-selling middle grade series School for Unusual Magic. And H.B. Akumiah, author of Bad Witches and co-host of Limousine Readings. Grab your traveling coat and let's turn the page and dive on in. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am so excited to be welcoming Claribel, Heather, Liz, and Travis on to Book Lounge by Libby today. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Now, for those listening on their commute and not watching, I just want to go around the room and have everyone say hi so they can find your voices. Claribel, the alphabet has chosen. I'm going to start with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claribel A. Ortega. I'm a middle grade and young adult author. My latest release is Witchling, Scepter of Memories, which is the 4th book in the Witchling series. And I'm really excited to be here today and talk to you all.
And Heather, I'm coming your way.
Hi, I'm Heather. I am the author of Bad Witches, which is published under the pseudonym H.B. Akumiah, which is really not a very mysterious pseudonym, but I write in a few different genres. I'm currently working on a collection of literary short stories, but Bad Witches is sort of a crossover YA fantasy, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it today.
Love it. Liz, I'm coming to you. I threw off the alphabet because while it says Elizabeth, I know you publish under Liz. So I was like,
I do.
Alphabet.
I was trying to trick you.
Thank you. Testing me.
Hi, I'm Liz Montague. I'm the author-illustrator of the School for Unusual Magic series. I write middle grade chapter books and graphic novels.
Love it. And Travis.
Hi, I'm Travis Baldree. I'm the author of Legends and Lattes, and the 3rd and upcoming book in that series, Brigands and Bread Knives. And I'm also a full-time audiobook narrator.
And in the booth to boot.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, to kind of start off in part 1, I want to set the scene a little bit with maybe a witchy icebreaker, perhaps. If you could cast one spell right now, anything from brewing endless coffee to teleporting into your favorite book, what would it be? Liz, I'm coming to you first.
Oh my gosh.
Just threw the dart at my screen. I'll have to replace this monitor.
I feel like I would want to grow things very quickly because then you would have unlimited food all the time. And like in season 2, like I want an in-season peach, an in-season strawberry, just like snap my fingers.
Dead of
Like
winter.
that would be really useful.
I love that. Oh, that'd be so good. Whoever wants to jump in next, you can jump in at any point, but I will also happily keep naming names.
I can go. Not to
go
be
ahead.
too beauty pageant about this, but if I could if I could cast any spell right now, it would probably be one for like world peace, um, especially given everything that's happening. If I could just like fix all of the issues that were happening right now with one magical spell, that would be incredible.
It's a
Well,
good one.
now that you've said that one, mine seems really, really lame, but I would cast control calories.
Well, I've got world peace
Control.
covered, so you guys can take other stuff.
just I
Yeah.
want to be able to, with a spell, set the caloric value of any food at will.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Mm.
brilliant.
That's smart.
So- and
donuts
you
for
also
really
get-
negative 200 calories.
Right. But you also get to like destroy diet culture if that could exist. Because you could be like,
Yeah.
we're all okay now.
Exactly.
True.
All okay.
Since we have world peace and calories covered, I would say I would love to I would just love to time travel, but only into like the over like the course of my life. So just like infinite redos of situations, but like with the knowledge that I have now, you know. I'm not trying to go
Would you
deep into the
redo them
past,
or
but-
would it be more like relive?
redo
Okay.
100%.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we've got hunger solved. We've got world peace. We've got calories solved. I love that though. I don't know if I could redo or if I would do more the like what's the like I want to experience
Experience
that
it again. Yeah.
again for the first time.
So true. Yeah. I think a combo of both.
I think that could be fun. Now, you all write in such different vibes. How do each of you personally define your broad genre, but then also the work that you do? And I know a lot of you jump around, a lot of you kind of cover all sorts of things. What is the ingredient that makes it feel magical? What's the ingredient that brings in the comfort? What feels essential to what you create? Travis, you have the look in your eye that you're ready.
I would
Maybe
say
not.
that I think I write books that ultimately have a focus on people that are essentially good and hopeful. They're flawed, they have problems, but ultimately they want to be good and better people. And leavened with enough realism that it doesn't feel saccharine, ideally, so that you can believe in like, yeah, this is the kind of people I want to be around. This is the sort of world I want to live in. It's not perfect, but it sounds good.
Can't go wrong with that. I mean, I think that definitely also is what amps up the cozy nature, the goal of good is the goal, triumph over whatever is the goal, but right, it's not hammer it home with the point.
I'd say one of the things all my books have in common is there's some sort of like underdog, like ragtag group of friends. I'm sort of just recreating the Goonies over and over again in like different ways. I would say that's like the one thing that I would say that I can't really get away from, and I don't really want to get away from. There's just something about having the people who are at the most disadvantage having to save the world, which feels really real and feels really poignant, and like that's how it actually happens in real life. They just happen to be kids in my stories, but yeah, I would say like the underdog ragtag group of like weirdo kids is my favorite trope.
And there's a reason it still exists. Like,
Yeah.
we may have redefined what the Breakfast Club looks like, but ragtag group of friends, unexpected allies, that is resonant because we all have so many different components to who we are.
Mm.
I think for me, with writing Bad Witches, it was so important for it to be very relentlessly fun and feminine and girly. Like that was just the note that I was trying to hit. And I think in anything that you write, even if it is something that's fluffy and lighthearted, you have to have some kinds of some kind of tension, some things that are serious. But whenever I felt I was getting too serious, I was like, oh no, I need to make this funny again. I need to make this cute and charming again, because that was really, really the goal for this project for me.
A little bit of girly pop, a little bit of camp, like all
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
important
Yeah.
things.
Totally. Yeah.
Girly pop is definitely something that inspires me in my work as well. I just love exploring girlhood and those like messy transitions of childhood of like 5th grade into 6th grade and then 7th grade into 8th grade. Those really in between bits where so much happens and so much of your personality develops. And I'm from the outside, it looks very, very messy. And I feel like from the inside, it feels very messy, but it's just like a very universal experience. Like middle school is middle school everywhere, which is kind of cool and kind of sad and kind of like, oh my gosh, like we all went through this, but exploring it is really fun.
Yeah, it's that human nature, the same reason that Claribel's point of the ragtag always works. It's also the
Mhm.
like, we all have to go through the awkward phase of life. And
Yes.
some of us go through several of those
Over and over again.
endlessly. But kind of speaking on that, Liz, both you and Claribel writing for kind of the middle grade and YA side, and then Heather and Travis kind of looking at more the adult side. How would you say that the people that you are writing to shapes the way you approach your themes, your genre, your writing?
Well, I can say that like my audience, and I don't think this is the case for everything that I write, but for Bad Witches, my audience was really, really front and center because I grew up reading a lot of very frothy YA books. Like I loved Gossip Girl and that kind of thing. I loved the A List. I loved the
The
Private
click.
series. Yeah, the Click, all of that stuff. And there was just no Black representation in that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So when I was writing, I was just thinking about Black women and girls because I know a lot of adults read this kind of like crossover YA that's you know, and my characters are 22, so they are a little bit on the older side, even though there's a YA tone.
Right, that like new adult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I think the whole time that I was writing, I was thinking about what I would have loved to have read in high school, or have secretly have read, in college or my early 20s. And that was sort of what directed me, and also kind of why I had that sort of guardrail of always making sure that I was coming back to making it something that was fun because that truly was the goal of the project.
Definitely. Liz, you had some thoughts right away.
I was also a huge lover of The Click and Gossip Girl and all of the things, and very similarly did not see myself in those books. So yeah, Black girlhood really inspired me and inspires me still to keep telling these stories. What I try to keep in mind is like to enter that space of the biggest problem in my life is I had a fight with my best friend, or the biggest problem in my life is I have to pass this test. And it's like getting to shed those adulthood responsibilities away and enter into that mind space again to be like, yeah, this is serious. Like, you're right. That friend fight is a big deal. And getting to inhabit that for a little bit. But that's what I try to keep in mind as far as readers go, that their problems are important and that they are like the world is ending when they happen for them, you know?
No, that makes so much sense that, like, just as much as their magic school exam is stressing them out, the fight with a friend is the end of their world because that is their whole world.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I sit down and like pick up a middle grade graphic novel, I really feel reconnected to those parts of myself that I forgot about. That when I get too lost in like,
Mhm.
all of the important things we have to think about and fight through and like take care of on the day to day, sometimes it's like a reconnection to like your baseline humanity of just like, we all, we all have like really important things that are only important to us.
Mhm.
Doesn't make it any less of a big deal.
Yeah. It's fun to tap into.
Definitely, I can imagine.
I really relate to what Liz said, especially about those moments being a big deal. I think for me, writing for kids, I've always had to sort of like keep in touch with that part of myself in order to remember that like friendship breakups and, my parents being mad at me and like all of these things were the biggest part of my life. And like, even though there's all these like other big magical things happening in the world, I have to keep that in perspective for my readers. Um, I would say for me, when I first started writing Witchlings, especially, I wasn't not thinking about my audience, but I also was just sort of like focused on the story itself and like the characters themselves and hoping that I found kids that would resonate with those stories and those characters. And luckily I did. And now that I have like a readership, they've given me permission to sort of like be as weird and like, funky as I want to be in my writing and like push me to like make it even weirder because Witchlings readers are some of the like weirdest kids I've ever met in my life. And that is a positive descriptor. I love them. They are so strange and my favorite human beings in the whole wide world. So I think it's evolved as the series has evolved, in which they're like, no, we're right there with you. Like, we love this. And like, they make me think of things that I would have never thought of. Like they've started shipping my main character, who is a rat in one book for one chapter, with in her rat form with a raccoon cheese, and the ship name is Chevin. Seven cheese. I would have never thought of doing that myself. But my 12-year-old readers are just so great and so funny. And it makes my imagination spark even more, like listening to them talk about these things.
But it also like gives me hope that the children are out here shipping. Like
Oh my
the world
gosh,
is healing.
so
There are
much.
still parts that are good left. Like,
100%.
I hear
Yes.
that and I go, oh, okay. When I was 12, I probably would have thought of that too. I'm over here just reading for the plot. What am I doing wrong?
They're so funny and so great.
Travis, how about you? Because you are in kind of like the birth of a new genre, so to speak, in terms of like embracing cozy with another genre. I think kind of your brand of high adventure tale, low stakes process or atmosphere. What would you say you kind of keep in mind or how it impacts you?
Well, first off, I really do think that the genre's been there forever, and we've only just recently slapped the label on it. I mean, honestly, The Hobbit is cozy fantasy. He just wants to go back home and eat. He's unconscious through the battle with the dragon. There's lots of songs and food, and it's vibes. So I feel like
Mm.
this has existed for a long time. But for me, I think it's like two stages. First, I have to write for me, or I can't finish it. So I have to be the first reader, or I just cannot make my way to the end. But then, like, the second stage is trying to open the door as wide as possible to let as many people in as I can without taking away whatever was essential to make it work for me. And then I guess third to that is just I have rules for myself based on all that I have read and narrated and the opinions that I've developed as a result. So I have rules like all characters are female unless there is a reason to make them otherwise. Because in the genres that I write in, it's almost always been the reverse. And so you just flip it. We've got plenty of the other one. Let's do it this way for a while. And all characters have to have enough raw material to be a main character. Otherwise, they don't belong, and they should be combined with another character or something like that. So I have like my little sets of rules, but initially it's, is this relevant to me in some way that makes me want to claw my way to the end? Because for me, writing's really hard, and I have to have that tether, or I just don't make it.
That makes so much sense. I mean, the struggle, the motivation to get through, even when there is a good spark, if you can't get to the end of it, it's not going to get done. And what's the point? But I'm also just I'm so like sat here with well, there's already enough of that exists. So it's time to flip the script. What brought you to this point?
Mostly, I don't really control like my reading diet because I'm a narrator. So I read what people put in front of me to read, which isn't always what I would pick. But I also get a sense of like broader genre conventions that I wouldn't have endured if I had read them myself, which like makes it apparent what I want to steer away from. It's like, there's enough of this. I have certainly read enough of it, so I want to do it a different way because it feels like I'm desperate to read some of that and it doesn't seem to be around.
Absolutely. Well, and even to your point earlier of like, well, cozy fantasy already existed. We're putting a label on it now. You're so right, but it's also just the like, oh, but now people are actually thinking of what it means to ride out the vibes. Like
Well,
a
you can
lot of
explore
people
the bounds of
start
it now.
exactly, exactly explore the
What's
bounds.
the borders, and people want to define them really rapidly. Oh, this is what cozy fantasy is. This is what is allowed. This is what is not allowed, which drives me crazy. I immediately want to do the opposite of all of those things because as soon as we put a fence around it, it feels like now we've just homogenized this and it's no longer interesting. I hope everybody keeps breaking rules. It's like what is it? Someone you can build a nest in. It's cozy horror. Yes, please.
No, but absolutely. And I would love to hear everyone else's opinion on that of the like the boundaries as of late in a lot of the writing. I was just
Mhm.
talking with someone about this, that there's like, in order to put labels on things so people know what they want to pick up, we end up then getting stuck and shoehorned in very specific conventions. Like, someone will say that romance can only be considered romance if there's a happily ever after, and so then to come through and trying to do the same thing to all of these other subgenres, like I understand the ease of access to try to make it so everyone can find the book they're looking for, but how often are you feeling boxed into corners?
I feel like the tension of art and marketing is always there and always exists.
Well, yeah, especially for you illustrating on top of it.
I mean, I feel like I feel really a lot of freedom because my background's in studio art. Like, I feel like because I'm not coming from the English major side of things, I'm just like, what are rules? Let's just do whatever, you know? So I
Yeah.
feel a lot of freedom to explore, but I do think that like the marketing side of things, of how you package it, how you sell it, all of that stuff that like sometimes you get a say in, sometimes you don't. Like I'm lucky in that I've gotten to do all of my own covers. And that gives me more power than some people have, but also it's like you would be so surprised how many changes happen because well marketing didn't like this or fairs didn't like this, so you need to adjust this and adjust that. And yeah, I think there's a constant push and pull of art and marketing. Capitalism.
Ain't that the truth?
I've had an easier time of it too, I think, with middle grade fantasy. I'm not really pushed or pulled in any direction, but I am a little bit nervous as I transition into the young adult space because my next series is young adult and are romantic elements. And like, I don't know how my publisher is going to describe it. And it's just like, I don't know how readers are going to take it. And to me, don't come for me, fantasy people, because I know you guys like to fight. But to me, romantasy has always been in much like Travis was saying with cozy fantasy. It's just a marketing term that we started putting labels on books, but like no YA fantasy that I had ever read didn't have a romantic element, a strong romantic element to it. So I just think it's interesting that there's all these conversations now that there are these labels put on things, whereas before we were just kind of like vibing a little bit more. I think we should go back to that.
More vibes, less marketing guide.
Less fighting.
I think I find myself in kind of like I've had a unique experience with this because I've written a book that to me is a YA novel. Um, but the characters are in their 20s. And so that all of a sudden makes it so that we can't really market this as YA. It has to be called commercial adult and like new adult exists, but it's not really hugely recognized. And so yeah, it's put me in a weird space where I'm like, this is technically being sold as like an adult novel, but like when I talk about it and when I'm doing my own like promotion or whatever, I call it a YA novel because I just don't want people to be to feel tricked.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I feel like the whole point of labels is to tell people what they're getting, but then when the labels become incredibly rigid, then you know, sometimes then people are ending up somewhere they don't want to be.
Right. Become incredibly rigid, or the comps are the strangest comps you've ever seen and have nothing to do with each
Mhm,
other. All of
mhm,
that.
mhm.
But now that we've got our potions bubbling a little bit, what if we went into some world building and magic systems? I'm sorry, y'all. I have to be campy. It's Halloween season. So we've talked a little bit about characters. What draws you to the characters you write, that you create? Whether it's, someone in training, whether it's, a magical whatever, like is the spark? Where do your characters come from and how do they find their way into the story that you've created, into the world that you've created? Or do they come first to something else?
I mean, for me, characters are first, and they're usually come from two things. One, some crossroads in my life where I made a decision and it was something I had to think about really hard. And like I made a choice, but I always wondered about what the other choice was. And if I can find a way to transplant that moment of decision into a character, then I have an idea of an arc. It's either the way I went or the way I thought about things going when I didn't, if I had chosen differently. And then I try and have other characters have arcs that resonated with it in some way. They're going the other direction. They're going parallel. They're going perpendicular. But there's something that they would then have to talk about because they have a commonality of experience. And then the second thing is just contrast. How highly can I make these characters contrast? Because I just don't want characters that I can't remember who they are. I read a lot of books that have huge casts of characters, and I start to lose track of who's who. So I would rather have a really densely packed emotional core to characters and less of them, and for them to be exceptionally distinct, at least in terms of the way they talk the way they interact with the world, their personality, even if their arcs have common elements, they are approaching them in a very different way.
You don't need a family tree of sorts to get through one of your books because it is the core. It is focused on character. I also think it's fascinating how reflecting on your own life feeds your characters, creates them.
Feels like a cheat because at least I know how those things feel. But also, ideally, other people have had similar experiences, so you can resonate with someone else's experience. Somebody else has decided to move to a new city or wondered if they could switch jobs when they were 40s after they've done it for like 20 years. Those are things that people happen to people and they worry about and that are a lot easier to relate to than can I kill a dragon, because nobody has to deal with that.
Can't ride too much on that one.
For Bad Witches, I knew that I wanted characters that felt like archetypes, that felt like not really the same way that I would build a character if I were writing something, like a literary short story. I knew I wanted them to feel sort of, yeah, not quite like stock characters, but initially to appear that way, and then for some of that to fall away. And I think that's because I took a lot of inspiration again from Gossip Girl, where you have two main characters where there's a Blair, there's a Serena, and when you're reading the book, it almost feels like every woman in the world is either a Blair or Serena. Or you're watching Sex in the City and there are four characters, and you're like, oh wait, of course everybody is one of these four characters. Like I love when or even like Charmed is like that with three very different characters, where it feels like you're one of these three. And I knew I wanted to build a similar kind of system where people could be reading and be like, oh God, I'm such a Gabby, I'm such a Maya, I'm such a Delali. So I knew I wanted to start that way. And then the challenge from there was, how do I then make these characters feel real? Which ended up being a lot of fun to work on. And I think also how different they all were really contributed to the sort of like found family vibe that I wanted to go for, that I knew I wanted to be an essential part of the book. I really wanted it to feel like these three women would never have been friends if they hadn't found out that they actually just all have powers.
Can't go wrong with a Charmed comp in my book.
No, you really can't. Yeah.
Never.
There was this show when I was growing up called H2O, Just Add Water. Anybody know this one? They're
I
like
do.
Australian mermaids.
Clear.
No,
Yeah.
Clear. Yes. um, that was in my mind. I've always loved that show. And I was thinking, like, if I was a mermaid, where would I live? And the obvious answer was New York City. I mean, it's surrounded by water. You could be whoever you want to be. No one's gonna look at you twice. And then it was like building a world around that premise of, okay, well, if these mermaids are populating this world, like where would a girl go to school? And what would that school look like? And creating a magic system around that was really rooted in nature, because you don't really think of like the city as part of nature, but I always thought of it like that. I mean, I'm from a rural area. I'm from rural South Jersey, but both of my parents are from cities. My dad's from New York and my mom's from the south side of Chicago. So I would go and visit my cousins and be like, no, you guys don't understand. Like all of your food and everything, it all comes from the earth. It's all the same thing. And they would look at me and be like, girl, you're crazy. Um, and I was like, no, I want everyone to see the magic of nature and everything. And so this is my attempt.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Thanks.
For me, it's different for every book, but for Witchling specifically, the three Witchlings I always tell people are me in different points in my life, which funnily enough led to them. I wanted them to sort of challenge one another as characters, both to help each other grow, but to be each other's support system. But Seven, my main character, is like know-it-all 12-year-old me who is like really smart, but like also thought she knew way more than she did. Valley, who's like the cool one, is like teenage me, which is like why she's so cool. And then Thorn, who is like the cute fashion girly one, is the most well adjusted. It's because it's me now who's had like years and years of therapy. So like it turned out that way. I didn't plan it that way, but it just sort of worked out that my three main characters were like me in conversation with myself. But I would say it's different for each of my books. Sometimes the plot comes first and then I introduce a character that would sort of be like the most interesting to come up against whatever challenge I'm presenting them.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, thinking on both of that, since you've brought up the world and the magic, how have you all decided on these settings? I know, Liz, we got a little bit of that from you as far as like, well, I want mermaid school in New York City. I want magic school in New York City. I want it all. And I want people to focus on nature. But how did everyone come up with what would be relevant in the book? What are the limits and the factors that you've placed? Because I think this also then ties in how you balance conflict and how you balance the cozy side or the comfort side when you come back to it, that you can have all of these layers. So how did you determine what magic and spells looked like? How did you determine if, when you're dealing like different races of magical creatures and whatnot, how did this all come about? How do you navigate things like this?
So for me, I generally think of cozy fantasy as not making you travel too far to get there. Like something like Dune is like tourism fantasy. I don't know, it's all exotic. It's like going to another country and everything is new and the food is different and it's an adventure in that respect. And cozy fantasy is like eating a food that you had when you were a kid and it tastes as good as you remember that it tasted. It's like there's like a nostalgic element. So there has to be a certain element of familiarity. So I have a very kind of European Forgotten Realms, World of Warcraft. These are things that people understand and they're just almost ubiquitous at this point. So there's a lot of that flavor to it. I have my own stuff, but my rule is that I can't talk about any world building unless a character would care. So like I have a magic system. I know how it works. Unfortunately, in most of the books I've written, most of the characters could give a crap. That's not interesting to them. So I only get to vaguely hint at it and I don't get the info dump. So the things that are unique to my world kind of come in around the edges and slowly start to pervade over time. But I don't get to like throw them in your face and give you an info dump on like, oh, here's the last 500 years of Orcish history, so you can get up to speed and we can get going. I don't do that, and that's generally the approach that I take with this specific series of books. I might do it differently with a different one, but just given the nature of it.
No, that makes so much sense. Like it is character driven. Characters got to care for the rest of us to get to care about it. Do you ever find with that approach that people reach out to you and are like, how does this work? Do you
Oh
find
yeah,
people look at,
yeah.
I figured,
What's going on with this thing? When are you going to explain this bit? And I'm like, well, when somebody cares in the book, I will get to it. I know what's going on. I
when they
basically
tell me
treat
that they care, I'll care.
I'll care. I treat it as I say it's like having a sheet over furniture. Like I know the shape of everything. I know vaguely what's going over here politically. I know vaguely all of these things. I know there's a couch there and a chair there, and that's like a side table. But until it's time to actually talk about it, I don't pull the sheet back because it gives me some leeway to make it ideally stronger for the moment when I have to talk about it. But I don't back myself into a corner where I'm like, oh my God, there's a couch here. Oh no, what do I do? I know the shape, and then I can fill in really fine details when it's time.
That makes sense. And it also makes sense conventionally to keep to cozy that way.
Yeah.
There's not it's broad strokes. It's not fine details. And you don't have to worry later of like, oops, did I back myself into a
Yeah.
corner in chapter 3 of book 2? Now that we're whatever.
And I think that there is an entire audience that really actually is comforted by pedantry, and I could probably write books for them. I just don't happen to be.
Totally. Totally. Well, and it makes it more accessible genre wise for me, where like I love so many of the fantasy elements, but once I get into the fine details, I'm like, oh no, I'm gone. Where did
How do I
I don't
pronounce this name?
that's my best guess.
Far too many apostrophes.
Yeah, and I live in audiobooks and I still like I don't even know what you just said and I'll never remember it. Heather, I'm coming to you next because you have the more kind of like grounded in reality with Bad Witches in a sense. But still, how does that inform the kind of like parallel to our world setting?
Yeah, it's a great question. I like initially didn't even want to develop the witch sphere. I didn't want to develop a separate world. I don't know if I mentioned yet, but I was like, Bad Witches is supposed to be fun and like lighthearted and low stakes. And so I sort of only wanted to build out as much as absolutely necessary for the story to be compelling, for you to care that these 3 women have powers, for you to be invested. But that ended up being a lot more building than I thought I was gonna have to have. And so it kind of just as I found myself in places where I was like, oh, well, this doesn't feel tense enough. This doesn't feel like it matters enough. So I would then step away from New York, which is where the story is the other place that the story is based. And I would go back into the witch sphere and think, okay, what could have happened in the history of this world? What could be happening in this world right now that would make any of this actually matter? So that's kind of how I approached it. I think, like you and Travis have both mentioned, I think sometimes when you're reading a fantasy, like the details can really bog you down. You can kind of sort of tell when it's sort of a fun exercise for the author, but not necessarily something that is essential to the book. Um, so I did also ultimately end up stripping a lot of stuff, a lot of explanations, a lot of things, and thinking, yeah, can I just do the tip of the iceberg and make this work for people? I wanted it to not be a really intense deep dive where you have to be super focused and have like a notepad out to remember all of the details of the world. I wanted it to be something you could sort of easily slip into, and just wanted to keep it a very, very light fantasy.
Now, Claribel, I know your Dominican heritage is what specifically influences the Witchling's magic system, but can you talk a bit about creating the whole space?
Sure. So the 12 towns, which is like the kind of world that they live in or part of the world that they live in, is based on the river towns in New York. So these towns along the river in the Hudson Valley. So there's shades of like Sleepy Hollow and sort of like these like cozy, for lack of a better word, like hallmarkish towns that
Yeah,
they live in, which feel kind of magical just on their own when you go to them. And that's definitely part of it. And aside from, the spells being in Spanish and a lot of things like monsters coming from the folklore in Dominican culture. But I also wanted to make sure that the world felt believable to kids today. So I call it kind of Shrekian fantasy because it's like fantasy, a second world fantasy, but they have cell phones. They might not be called cell phones, but they have compute like cell phones and computers and the Witchernet, which is the
Mm.
internet. Like they have all these things that will be familiar to kids. And that kind of like didn't let me get away with like, well, there's no internet. So I had to deal with all of those things in the story and sort of like challenge myself. And I wanted to do that. I wanted it to have a modern feel, but with like a magical twist to it. And there's so many opportunities for like humor in that. Like the Real Witch Wives of Hastings on Pumpkins is a TV show that I would love to watch.
absolutely.
And just things like that, where it's like little nods and like winks to the parents as well, which is like one of my favorite parts of Shrek that like watching it as a kid or watching it as an adult, it's funny, but for different reasons. And Witchlings is kind of like that too. So that was definitely part of like my calculation and making the world. Like, how can I make this as funny as humanly possible?
Absolutely. And of course, because Ryan was on last week for horror, your town name sharing, of course. I just, like throwing the Easter eggs out while we're here together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun. My favorite town to name was Blonkers, which is
Mm.
Yonkers. It was the one where I was like, I don't know what to name it. And I was like, this is the funniest thing. And now my editor loves whenever I just mention it anywhere in the manuscript. She's like, Blonkers
Mm.
mention.
And that's what makes it fun. I mean, it's got to be joy for everyone. And that's, I think, the thing that really comes back and like sits with me so well with the concept of cozy anything is just like, cozy. It feeds part of you. You can still have conflict. You can still have emotional depth and feeling, but also at the end of the day, you don't have to like risk it all and you can laugh about blonkers. And Liz, wrap us up on this one with a little more thought on the H2O space and how you then built out from there.
Yeah, I try to do like a slow burn magic reveal almost because it's a 3-book series. And for School for Unusual Magic, in the first book, it's like, oh, this is just about a magic test. And like their aperture of the magic, I guess, opens up more. In the same way of childhood, where like your views and your perspective starts opening up and you realize, like, oh my gosh, there's a whole world around me. And the first book is very much like, I have to pass this magic test. Into the second book, that's like, oh my gosh, like where do I belong? I'm learning more about myself. Like, this is where some maybe mermaid hints start to drop of realizing, like, maybe I'm more than what I think I am. And what does that mean for where I belong? And then going into the third book, it's like, what does it mean that there's this whole world underneath us that we never really thought about? And why didn't we think about them? And what are all the things in place that make us not think about these other spaces around us with living people? Because I mean, I think that the whole thing is trying to be like, nature means we all have to work together, And I think that trying with magic, it's trying to make hard things accessible. Because before doing what I do now, I worked in the nonprofit space. I did international development, and like kids in conflict is something that's really important to me. And I feel like using magic, you can talk about harder things. Where in this book, maybe it is mermaids versus the magical beings on land, and how do those people work together, and how do they come apart. But that mirrors a lot of things in our world today and in our society. And I think that like magic is a nice entryway, like a smooth, a soft landing into a more complicated thing.
Right. Setting them up to ask important questions and learn more on how can we protect the planet? What can we do for nature? How are we all interconnected?
Yeah, exactly.
So as we start to wind down, I want to talk a little bit about connection and comfort and look at some reader magic. What is a moment when a reader's reaction to your book really stuck with you or reminded you why you write?
So I recently got a letter from a reader who um was a young black queer girl who just came out as trans to her family, and she chose the name River from the Witchling series as her name. And I lost it when I read the email because it was very emotional, and to feel that like my books were able to give this kid who felt really alone and sort of like misunderstood have like a soft place to land. It was so meaningful to me because that's why I wrote this series. That's why I write, period, to like help kids who feel lost and who feel alone. And to hear directly from a reader, like, hey, you did it. Like in my instance, like you gave me that understanding that I wasn't getting anywhere else, really touched me and made me feel like, okay, I won't quit, I guess. This is wonderful. And just really showed the impact that books can have. Um, and you know it, but like to hear from a reader directly who's so impacted, there's something really special about moments like that.
That's beautiful.
Huge agreement. Anytime you get an email or a letter is always a big deal. It's never not. It's never not
Mm.
amazing. And I don't want to say that some of them stand out more than others, but they do, because you have ones where it's like I somebody sent me a message on Instagram last week that they liked how they were a really quiet person and they were used to people not seeing them because they didn't know how to speak up. And that Thimble as a character was someone who didn't have to become someone else for someone to appreciate who he was. He didn't have to speak up. Didn't have to be a different person for the people around him to understand who he was and care about him, and that it felt really validating to read. So anytime any experience that you put in a book, somebody else responds and said, I've had that experience, I understand it. It's amazing because one, it makes them feel less lonely, but it makes you feel less lonely too, because it means that whatever experiences you've had, other people out there have had them, which is incredibly powerful. And it was not something I was prepared for prior to writing a book. And it's easily the coolest thing about it.
I don't think anyone could ever truly be ready for that, but it does sound like the best part to just go that like, oh, we found a place to land. Like this did its purpose.
I don't think I have anything like anywhere near as moving as those two examples. But I just think like, yeah, I think anytime someone says anything nice about the book, I'm just like, wow, you read my book? You liked my book? Like that is, I'm like, that's so cool. There are like a few TikTokers who are like big fans of the book. And like, I think anytime I see a TikTok where someone is like, this book is criminally underrated, I'm like, I love that. That's so sweet. Or I feel like when I was writing the book, I think there's a lot of, because I am an adult writing for YA, but also like adult crossover. I think there are lots of like little jokes and little ironies that are snuck in there. So I think when anybody says that the book is like charming or funny, like I think that makes me feel like people are like sort of getting the joke, and like that makes me feel really connected as well.
I love it. I love it. Liz, anything on your end? Anything that sticks out?
I mean, I get to do a lot of school visits, which
I
is
bet.
really nice.
Yeah.
And I recently did like a whole bunch in the Bronx. And I mean, when you do school visits, depends like where are you before lunch, after lunch, or is anything I'm saying resonating? Is anyone listening to me? and and after like a string of these, I got an email from one of the librarians who was like, one of the girls came up to me and said that, how she winds down after a long day, she sits and reads one of your books. And that like it just really stuck with me of like, oh, like this is how you wind down. This is your chill space. Like I'm really honored to be a part of that. And it feels like, okay, yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep doing this. We're not just, throwing things into the ether. People are reading them.
People are reading them and people are saying this gets me back to center. Like
Yeah.
that's important, especially at that age. Like, whew, if you can find that early that you're like, oh, I could have a comfort read that's going to take me home. I love
Yeah.
that.
The power of the cozy read.
The power of it. Well, to start to wind us down, I want to do a witchy lightning round with y'all. So just your first response to whatever you think of this. Wand or hands for magic?
Hands.
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 Yeah. Hands. Black cat, toad, or talking raven familiar?
Black
Talking
cat.
raven.
Black cat.
Toad.
Sorry, Claribel, that one was specifically for you. I would have been surprised if you didn't pick
Books are very
toad.
toad-centered.
Very toad-centered. Talking raven, Travis. I like that answer. I think they're all good. Like you can't go wrong. Favorite pop culture witch?
Oh,
I know.
Elphaba.
Oh, I can't do I can't, my voice doesn't do that.
Bonnie from Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm gonna have to second that. Yeah.
Wow. I don't have a favorite pop culture witch. I don't know if I have a favorite pop culture witch. I have to think about this really hard. You come back to me.
Melissa Joan Hart. Sabrina. Potion brewing or spell casting?
Outcast.
Potions.
Spell.
I love this.
Spell. I think spell.
Okay. Cottage in the woods or bookshop in a small town?
Cottage
Bookshop
in the
in a small
woods.
town.
Bookshop in a small town.
Bookshop.
Travis, I'm sorry. That one was a little skewed for you. If your writing desk could magically refill with one treat forever, what would it be?
Donuts.
Donuts? Travis, what did you say? It cut out.
Coffee.
Sorry.
It's coffee.
Okay, important.
Gluten-free scones.
Oh.
I have a gluten allergy, so
Okay, fair. This is also where we need to go back to the beginning and someone needs to solve gluten.
yes, that's really what we need answers on. That's the real
Wow,
magic we
yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Heather, do you have a magic refill treat?
I'm gonna get attacked for this, but candy corn. I'm
Hey,
so
love
sorry.
that.
I like
Or
candy
chicken
corn.
wings.
I like candy
Okay.
corn, actually.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Okay,
and
love.
I'm into that. And if you had a favorite witchy or cozy book that you were reading right now, maybe by someone else, any books you want to shout out? While you all think about that, favorite song that instantly puts you in a fall writing mood? Or what are you listening to right now?
I'm always listening to that one song from Agatha all along, the
Of course,
Witch's Road ballad. I
yep.
love that song so much. I just replay it over and over again. My friends are so tired of me because of it.
They say don't give her the aux cord.
I'm on a Matt Mason kick right now.
Okay.
I'm listening to Doja Cat's new album and cannot wait to start listening to Mariah's new album, but I don't know that either of those are particularly autumnal or witchy.
But is
I just
Mariah
met Mariah.
What?
Whoa.
She did an album signing at Barnes and Noble Union Square, and I got to meet her.
Oh,
It was
wow.
Oh my
incredible.
gosh.
So
Incredible.
pardon me because I keep seeing it on TikTok. Is she actually going to put the grunge album out? Is that what we're finally getting?
I don't know.
Or
She
the
didn't.
alt album?
I didn't get to talk to her. I was just hysterical crying, and she signed my record. And I was
Well,
like,
totally. Because she keeps teasing it. She keeps going on talk shows and teasing the 90s album that she never released. I'm like, give me this. This is what I want right now.
that would be really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, Liz, do you have a song or an album that you're replaying or streaming?
I mean, I'm gonna sound basic, but I'm listening to Evermore from Taylor Swift. It feels like fall to me. I don't know. I haven't listened to the new album yet, but I really liked Evermore.
And that's
I vibe with
valid.
it. Thank you. And
Evermore was
talking about
really
a
good.
book, a cozy book that by someone else, I will be
Yes.
honest, I did not know that you made Travis that you're the author of Lattes and Oh my gosh, now I'm
Legends
blanking
and
on
Legend
Lattes.
Legends and
Lattes.
Lattes. I love that book. Like
Thank
genuinely,
you.
truly, I absolutely loved it. I like fangirled when I was like, oh my gosh, wait, you wrote that? I love that book.
Same.
I've read it several times. It's a cozy read for me. Shout
Yeah,
out
I'm
10
gonna
out of 10 to you.
bandwagon
Thank
that
you.
and say I also really love that book. I recommend it to everybody all the time.
Yeah,
Thank
God, I need
you.
to look into it.
it's really fun and cozy. I want to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't feel like I'm cool enough. I feel like that's a Dungeons and Dragons world, and like I'm not
I haven't
quirky
played
enough. I
Dungeons
feel
and
like.
Dragons since high school, so you don't.
But like
You
the
don't
world
have to
feels like
read
it
at
makes me
school.
want to play Dungeons and Dragons, or at
You're a
least know how to
fantasy
play.
author. You're like the prime person to play Dungeons and
You're set.
Dragons. Are
You're
you
set.
kidding?
I need to put
It's
myself
just
out there.
storytelling in a fantasy world. You're set.
Just find yourself a local game shop that looks like it's owned by people you might love and vibe with, and go in. I'm sure there will be a night.
And just
I
roll
say
up.
that because my tattoo artist just opened a game shop, and absolutely, I roll up for Magic Night when we play Commander. I roll up for D&D night.
Okay. Reading Legends and Lattes made me want to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, I want to immerse myself in this world. So you've inspired me. I'm gonna go to a game shop.
There you go. Okay. Well, final spell of the day. What's one word that describes your brand of bookish magic? This is where I have to do the like, for the listener only. Everyone is staring at me going, how dare you ask me this? Uh,
Well, the thing is, I'm not thinking. I knew immediately. I've just said it so many times.
fair.
Every day. Every
I
day.
would
It's 2
say-
words, but you can do without a hyphen.
Every day. Love that.
Look at that.
I'm gonna say chaos
Mine-
for mine.
Chaos. Okay. Heather.
I was gonna say fun, but just to diversify, I'll say girly.
Girly.
Girly
Okay.
or girly pop. Yeah.
Girly. See, that's also one word in my brain.
Mhm, mhm.
Every day, chaos, girly pop. Liz.
Nature.
Nature.
But if it could be two words, it would be girly pop nature. Maybe that could be one word. Girly pop nature. One
Brat
word.
nature.
Also very
Yeah.
witchlings. I feel like our books all like fit together
I
so
know.
well. So good job putting this panel together.
Yeah, I
Thank
was
you. I
gonna
was
say
like-
it's almost like someone planned it.
Thank you. That would be me. Brat and girly pop might also describe me sometimes. But see, there is a method to the madness. When you all joined at first, you're like, how are we all here on this same call? And now at the end, you go,
A lot of sense.
okay, I see what he was doing.
I do have a book also that I can recommend if we're still doing
yeah.
that one. So The Library of Memories, which is a graphic novel by Lissy Marlin, who is the illustrator of all of the Witchlings covers, and written by Barbara Perez Marquez. It's not out yet, but I'm reading it right now, and it is wonderful. And Lissy's art is just so beautiful. So definitely check that out when it's out.
Love it.
My recommendation is not really, it's not fantasy and it's not like cozy fantasy or anything like that.
And that's
But
okay.
it's Olive Kittredge by Elizabeth Strout. It takes place in a town called Portland, Maine, and I don't know if it's real. And I don't know when most of the stories take place, but in my head, it's like always fall there. And she does like an amazing job of describing the town and like, the trees changing colors and stuff.
Portland, Maine is real. And I only know that because while I
Great
am
to
girly
know.
pop, I am also grandma. And Jessica
I'm
Fletcher.
so grandma. Yeah.
Jessica Fletcher very often went to Portland in Murder, She Wrote. So from fictional Cabot Cove
love
to real
that.
Portland.
Yeah.
It's like, she's flying across the country. No, she's driving 20 miles down the road.
Right.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, anything you want to promote and where can the people find you online? Of course, you're all linked in the description, but anything to highlight? I'll go back to the alphabet. Claribel, I'm coming to you first.
Sure. So you can get the first 4 books in the Witchling series right now. You go to witchlingsworld.com. It's all the information about the books. You can take the Witchlings quiz and find out what coven you're in. And I do have a graphic novel coming in many years with Rose Musamra, who illustrated Frizzy. It's called 30 Ways to Kill Your Avatar. It's inspired by The Sims. Really excited about that one. Yeah.
Love it. Liz, I'm going to follow the E in Elizabeth this time. And
Appreciate it. The third School for Unusual Magic book comes out December 2nd. It's School for Unusual Magic Mermaid Reveal. And I just had a graphic novel come out called Camp Frenemies. So check that out. And I'm Liz at Large on all social media. Come say hi.
I love it. Heather?
Okay, so my website is under construction currently. So I have a few different places to direct you. First is my Instagram, which is at Hizaire, which is Hizzaire. It's like a lifelong nickname, long story, but that's where you find me on Instagram, where I post about everything. You can also find the Bad Witches Instagram at Bad Witches Book on Instagram.com. I also host a podcast called Limousine. So you can find my podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. And on Instagram, we are called Limousine Readings. So you can find us there. I know I've talked about like YA, literary fiction, new adult, but we're doing an Anaconda book club. So now we can add classics to the list. Limousine Readings.
Love it. Love it. You've hit so many genres in one sentence. And then Travis, take us home. Where can the folks find you?
I'm Travis Baldree on all social media and travisbaldree.com. Brigands of Red Knives is the third Legends of Lante's book and comes out November 11th.
Oh,
We'll be going on tour starting on the 4th through about the 26th.
Ooh.
So if you're along the way when we announce and you want to come say hi, come say hi.
Oh my gosh. And a tour to end the year, brave. Or right before the holiday season.
Right before the
off.
holidays.
Yeah.
You come back Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, at least you get to like pre-travel, right?
I like traveling, so it's I
No
enjoy
pain to you. I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much for
us.
having us.
And listeners, now we'll transition to the next part of the show. Well, hey, y'all. We have hit the midpoint of the episode where we are transitioning from segment 1 to segment 2. Before we get into those book recs, just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the show. If this is your first time trying out Book Lounge, I hope you're enjoying it. Feel free to see what else we've done in season 1 and so far in season 2. And I hope you'll stick around and see what we've got coming up the rest of this season for you. Thank you so much for checking it out. Now, before we head into those book recs, I wanted to talk a little bit more about a Libby feature. 2 episodes ago, we talked about suspending holds, and today I just wanted to mention a little feature known as Skip the Line. Now, for some libraries, they offer special Skip the Line copies of popular books. These are limited time, no holds copies that you can borrow right away, even when there's a long wait list. You'll know it's a Skip the Line copy when you see a little shamrock icon marked on the title. If you see this, it's your lucky day. Skip the Line copies are often a great way to read those popular books quickly, but there are a few unique rules for how they circulate that I wanted to mention. Now, they don't have wait lists. You can't renew them, so you only have however long you've borrowed that Skip the Line title for, and they may have shorter loan periods than you usually borrow for. This is set by your library, so you may only have 7 or 14 days to read them when you're usually having 21. There may also be a limit to the number of Skip the Line titles that you can borrow at one time. Again, this is also set by your library. Now, you can find Skip the Line titles that your library has available by tapping on the magnifying glass in the footer of Libby and choosing Skip the Line under the list of catalog filters. So consider giving that a try if you want to see what popular books you could borrow right away. Now, with that, let's head over into those incredible, cozy, witchy book recommendations. Well, hey everyone, it is that time in the show where our guest hosts bring you some incredible book recommendations. I have 3 of my absolute favorite people here bringing you cozy and witchy reads. We have Kayla, we have Bree, we have Meara. Welcome everyone. How's it going today?
It's going good. Fantastic.
It is so overcast here today. It's just like giving the perfect autumnal vibes, and I'm really happy to be here.
Love.
Ooh, oh, so you've got the mood set. Kayla, I'm going to make you kick us off then, since
Yes.
you are your atmosphere is ready to go.
Yes.
And the
Go
pumpkin
ahead.
pillow in the background.
Of course.
It's so cute.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Kayla. I have been posting twice weekly on my YouTube channel, Books and Lola, for 11 years. And I read horror and thrillers and fantasy and romance and some nonfiction, a little bit of everything. I feel like we should talk about our introductions to witchy stuff, right?
Yeah. What were some of your pop culture witchy moments or some of your literary witchy moments? I know for me, I was a Charmed and a Sabrina the Teenage Witch kid. So that's about all you need to hear from there. And then The Craft and like it all escalates from there.
Let me tell you about the power of three will set us what?
Free
I
every
know that's
time.
right.
Every time.
Those are also my 3 touch points that I was going to bring up. I was going to say I started with Sabrina, I moved on to Charmed, and then The Craft. Like those were my 3 things. I
Absolutely.
watched Charmed every week with my mom. And then, okay, I don't know if you guys know about this movie called The Covenant, but that was one that really got me into witchy stuff because it's boy witches and it's a group and it came out like a similar time as The Craft. I think it's objectively a really bad movie, but it has like Sebastian Stan and Taylor Kitsch and Chase Crawford. And it's like once these boys turn 18, they get addicted to their own magic. And the movie's just so crazy. And I feel like that was a really formative one for me as like a 15-year-old girl.
I'm running. I'm gonna be
Wow.
running to find that because wow.
Yes.
Bree, do you want to give us an intro?
I feel like we're all in the same space. Like I loved Sabrina, her and Harvey, dynamic. I mean, Valerie could have got these goddamn hands in the
Uh,
first few episodes. You know what you did, Valerie.
mhm.
But then, I'm always my favorite TV show and I watch it every day. I wish I can say that I'm lying, but people who know me closely know that I have to watch Charmed every day. I've been watching Charm every day since it aired. I will watch it every day. It's just like something that I have to do. And I just think Paige is awesome. I love how young and flirty and fun. She tried to sing that one time. I don't think that was the highlight. But everything else, like, come on, half witch, half white lighter. I'm here for you. Piper, older sister, tripping sometimes, but love her. Phoebe is making out with everybody. I was like, wow, she really knows how to make out on camera, right? She really got it down.
I have just been rewatching, and there are times where her and Cole kiss that I'm like,
Yeah,
y'all really filmed this.
y'all filmed it.
Like the tongues
Yeah,
on chins.
the tongue, the licking of the
Yeah,
skin. It
Meara,
was
you
not
gotta
giving
look up some
PG.
like Cole and Phoebe kisses to see that
Oh
we are not
yeah,
insane. There are
listen.
kisses that happen that I go, you could use that in the final.
Yeah, yeah. I was
I
like,
don't think I
wow,
want
they're
to.
listen. They did it all. You know what I mean? And then R.I.P. to
Ew.
Shannon.
R.I.P. to Shannon
R.I.P.
and
to
Julian.
Shannon and Julian. So I like to say, the source / Cole Turner ran so Klaus Michelson can walk. Okay, the true villain was Cole. But anyway, I really love Practical Magic as well. That's just one of my favorites. It's very cozy. It's just like what I want to watch. And then I don't want to be judged by my love for the Hallmark Channel. Argue with your mammy, don't argue with me. And I really love The Good Witch. I'm sorry. I love it. The TV show, the 18 different movies. I just really love The Good Witch. It's like an alluding to a witch, but she's just very perceptive. But she's also a witch and she knows when you're there. She'll be like, "Hey, Kayla." And you're like, "What? I just walked in. How did you even know it was me?" So those were
Never an ounce of magic, but the threat of magic in
the
her.
thread of magic, and then I also truly, truly love Murder, She Wrote. JB Fletcher is that
Mhm.
girl, over the top. R.I.P. to that actress as well.
Mhm.
They ain't had to keep taking the good white women. But anyway,
But they did. They
they did.
got Angela Lansbury, and I'll always be sad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just such a beautiful, cozy transition, like to your point of, oh, Mira, I didn't forget you. Don't worry. To go from The Good Witch to Murder, She Wrote, it all kind of loops around. But Mira, what about you? What were some of your witchy
Sorry.
inspirations?
I thought we were transitioning to the books. And I was like, wait,
Oh,
no, I didn't get to
no.
talk about mine.
No. I would never forget you. Don't worry.
I grew up as a creepy little occult drawn child asking for like human skulls and tarot cards and stuff like that when I was little, much to my parents' chagrin. You can't see it, but I have like a skull collection, not real, plastic. They're like all over my apartment. But so like in the pop culture, like I was watching Sabrina, and I think that was like really the only like witch thing that I was watching as a child until like American Horror Story had like their Coven season, which is like the best season of American Horror Story. And like honestly, Wizards of Waverly Place that started airing when I was like in junior high. And so like it was stuff like that. I was really like I was leaning into like the fairy tales and like the raw organic media of witches for a really long time. And like witches are like one of my favorite things to read. So I'm psyched to be talking about these books.
It's so exciting, and there's definitely something about it. I also think of what you said, tarot, and it made me think of card captors. Got a good old anime because the whole Clow cards, they were all basically tarot cards. That was the other thing I was running around with. I didn't have a tarot deck at that age, but I had one.
Whatever Pokemon card I drew, that was your future.
That do it your own way. I think it's fun that we all had these same touch points, and I wonder what it is for the kids today. If they go back, if there's new things. Hopefully, they're watching the original Charmed and not the reboot. The reboot was fine; it just wasn't the original. That said, who would like to give us their first book? I think there's so many good titles on this list. Everyone looks scared. It's like I'm gonna threaten you to
No,
to
I think
share.
Kayla's ready. I think she
Perfect.
unmuted first. I think she's feeling it.
The floor is yours.
Well, I was thinking what I wanted to recommend because I have a bunch of kind of darker witchy stories, and I feel like a lot of witch stories exist in situations where a character is being like held down, who's being like controlled or oppressed, and the power, the magic is what makes them feel powerful, like they have autonomy. And I think there's a lot of like heavy magical stories, but I know we were gearing this episode more to like the autumnal, like the fun, the cozy. And I've got a couple more silly ones. So the first one I'm going to start with is I think like a crowd pleaser. Like, this is a pretty popular one, but I wanted to mention it because if you, like me, have a hard time finding like romance and magic together and really liking it when it's quirkier, I think this one could be a win. It's called The X Hex by Aaron Sterling. It's a fun, like, second chance romance at the heart of it. Obviously, there's magic, though. We have Vivian and her boyfriend. She broke up with him like a decade ago, or he broke up with her. She put a curse on him naturally because she's pissed off. And now they're slightly more mature adults, and he comes back into her life. And the curse is affecting more than just him. It's affecting like the town and various people. So now they have to work together to figure out the curse and like what went wrong. It's got the cutest small town vibes. It's so autumnal. And it's kind of like an adult Halloween Town or an adult Sabrina. But it's a little bit steamy. So it's got steam and goofiness with a plot. And I just think it's a really well-rounded one. It has a lot of readers, and I think for a reason.
What would you say your pepper scale is? Like, how steamy is it? Like, I
Um,
know so little when it comes to like romance. Is it like just a dash, or are we talking like, oh, it's 5 peppers, hot, hot, hot?
yeah, no, it's got a little bit. Like, it is descriptive,
Oh,
but
okay.
there's not a lot of those scenes. There's just a couple of them sprinkled in.
Got it.
Maybe like two peppers.
That
I
makes
don't
sense.
I don't read a ton of really steamy stuff, so maybe this is like a 1 pepper for somebody and a 3 for someone else, but
But for you and me, who both don't read it,
If
yeah,
I
it scares
could,
me a little bit.
yeah.
if I could piggyback off of this recommendation. So that book is part of like a series where each book is a different brother in this family. And the
I didn't know
third
that.
one is a Yuletide story, and it's a time travel story. And I love it. It's called The Wedding Witch. And
Oh, I
it's
have okay.
one of my favorite books that I read. I think I read it last year, and I was just like tee giggling on my couch. Aaron Sterling's really good at like building the anticipation. So even though the
Mhm.
peppers are only 2, the like build of the peppers is great.
I knew that there was more of a series. I don't know if I knew that it wasn't just following the same couple, because sometimes you never know if it's
Yeah.
different people or if it's the same ones. And I'm not someone who wants to read about the same people
Yeah.
for 3 books. So, I'm intrigued now. Maybe I'll have to read that for December.
And
Yeah,
thank you.
it's
That
like
was. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and so there's a between one. So like I think the between one, I haven't read the between one, but I think it happens in the same town. And then the third one is the last brother who's the most like reluctant for love.
It's fun though.
Hmm.
And Kayla, perfect. I was gonna ask, like, are you a fan of a series like of a romance that just is a one-off where it's like, yeah, it's a series, but you could basically pick up any of these, it doesn't matter, or do you want to follow the same couple? But you answered that for us.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like when I was a kid, like with Charmed and Sabrina and stuff, like I was invested in the people. I was invested in so much. Now at my big age, like
Not the
I don't
big
want to
A.
know you that long. Like I want to hang out with you for
Ooh.
a little bit of time. I don't want to see what you're doing 10 years from now. Like I don't even like an epilogue. I just want the moment together and then I want to never think about you again as a book
Right.
character.
Yes, I'm not even mad if it's like
Wow.
we hit the end point and they just give us the like, and this moment in their life that you were welcomed into is done. Like, I don't even always need the full wrap up. Just be like, and then they drove off to the next episode. Like, good, done, over.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think for me, I don't mind having the same characters. I think it really if the characters are different, I'm more likely to finish the series, I will say. But there's just some characters, I don't even know a nice way to say this, that just keeps doing stupid stuff book after book after book. I don't want to read that shit. Why did you publish that? And why wasn't it in the draft? That's the better question because now you're causing me to be irritated because it's just like the same thing. It's like Sally met Henry. Henry went to the store. Henry got this for Sally. Sally said, "I hate you." A miscommunication. Book 2, the miscommunication continues. Hallie hates
uh-huh.
it. Like it's just like I'm tired of Henry and Sally.
I think some authors, not to harp on the same topic, I'm sure we want to move on to the next book, but I feel so passionate about the fact that some authors need to just write fan fiction about their own books and not publish more in a series. Just
Mm-hmm.
like have it exist somewhere else, and then you can do all the fan service that the
Yes.
publishing world doesn't need. It needs to be over here.
We need like a
Mm-hmm.
platform exactly for that, where it's like, you don't have to ruin the series. You could, or we just need more authors to have Substacks. Like, just just do all that.
Like Emily Henry on her website, you can like sign up and get like a bonus chapter from a book where it's just like, here's a little fan service moment. It doesn't have to be canon, but you can just like read this little side story about these characters. And I'm like, that's great. If you've got more to say, but it doesn't like need to go into the book.
Or you don't
Yeah.
need to figure out how to make like a book 1.5 out of it. Yeah.
However, the Shatter Me series, those 1.5s, slap.
Hey, not we're not talking about all of them, just a lot of them.
I don't know Shatter, and Shatter don't know me.
Well,
Great.
maybe you got to get introduced.
Right? I'm just saying.
Is it fantasy?
It's that same like kind of like Hunger Games feeling. It's like a YA dystopian.
Oh, I
Characters have
think
like
I'm dystopian
powers.
out. Yeah, I
Ah,
think I'm
okay.
dystopian out at this big age. I
That's
think
fair.
I think dystopians. Yeah, that ain't me no more. But
Well, who
love it
wants
for
to give
you.
yes, we love that for you. Bree or Mira, who wants to go next?
I guess I can go.
Oh, there
Um,
you go. Which one you gonna give us?
you know what? Okay, so I was
Yeah, get it
doing a
over
little bit
with.
of research while we were talking, and I think that the book that I put on the list for me to talk about, is not witchy and barely cozy. So I am realizing in this moment that I fucked up. Some say mistakes were made, but I think that Imma just start talking, and for you listeners and watchers out here, mind your business. Pretend there was a witch that came out of nowhere and took a hold of you as I'm telling you this story. But at this current point in time, it is not giving any of those things. Moving forward, we're gonna talk about the first book that I put on the list, and it's called A Murder for Miss Hortense by Mel Pennant. Um, I don't know if anybody has read this book, but it is a wild ride. So when you read the premise of this book, you're like, okay, it's an elder woman. She's Jamaican. She's living in England. She has this prolific career of being a nurse, but she's also a hard ass. And she's like an amateur sleuth. Usually when you get kind of those mix, you think cozy and how it's written, the synopsis, you're like, this is a cozy, even the cover, if you look at it, it is giving cozy. However, it gets dark. So it follows the story, like I said, of this woman named Miss Hortense. And there is several different times in the book where somebody in her community dies. And the way that they died really brought up some things within her and also put it in her that she felt like she needed to figure out why they died and who killed them. And she kind of like asks other people to help her in a roundabout way. And one thing I thought was interesting is how she has a nephew, if memory served me right, who is a police officer. And she is just like, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that. And he's like, ma'am, I am a police officer. Like, you can't just be out here forcing me to help you solve these murders. But then while you're reading the book, you're realizing that there is something that happened to her ties to Jamaica. And because of this thing that happened, I don't think it's a spoiler, her sister died many, many years ago. And the nephew, who she is kind of bossing around, who's a police officer, that was his mom. So there is a big secret that's happening with that death. There's secrets that's happening with the other people who have died. And then there's also this mystery woman living in her house who has her own ulterior motives of what has happened in this community. And while you're reading the book, it kind of feels like you are just on a ride and it's like a lot of things is happening, but you're not confused, if that makes sense. It's like you're able to track what's going on. And again, it does has a cozy feeling, but it's like moments of when the stakes are high, kind of like when you're watching Murder She Wrote and JB Fletcher decides she's gonna fucking confront somebody by herself. And they're like, bitch, I will kill you. And she's like, well, the police is here. And they're like, get down or whatever. So, like, that's the whole situation. But it can give cozy in some parts. And, is it witchy?
You know what? The thing is, I said cozy, I said witchy, and the big thing that came to mind for me, because this made me kind of immediately think of The Golden Spoon, Jessa Maxwell, which I loved, and I think is this same kind of like teeters the line of cozy. I
Yeah.
think this is the updated cozy mystery for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think like as people age and the original format of the cozy mystery doesn't fit the same for some of us. It's like this is that kind of in between. It's not a straight up mystery. It's not quite a
Yeah.
cozy mystery. I think it's that bridge. So I see it and I think it's a new entrant. Like I think this is
Yeah.
something that's developing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't know about everybody else. Cozy mysteries specifically don't really do it for me. Like it's not like I'm like, "Oh my God, riveting 5 stars. You better get it." You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really like so deep into them. And for me, one of the reasons is because I need the stakes to be a little bit higher. Like I'm not saying you got to have stab, stab, murder, murder, kill, kill happening on page, but I just need the stakes to be a little bit higher. And it's why, like for Black Queen, you can read cozy mysteries by Black authors in Noir Apothecary, but I don't really be having a lot of recommendations for that area because it's like cozy mysteries is not my favorite. But if cozy mysteries continue on the path, like A Murder for Miss Hortense, I can get behind that because I think it was well written. I think you really understood the characters. And even though, again, there was a lot happening, I didn't feel confused because once you confuse me, then I got to DNF and go ahead and live my goddamn life because you don't piss me off. So I really liked this book. So shout out to Mel Pennant. You did that.
Absolutely. Ira, do you want to give us your first pick?
Yes. Okay. So I feel like my first pick is like the capital T, the cozy witchy book. It is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Like I said, I read a lot of witchy books. Read a lot of witchy romances, and they get so cringy so fast. It's like so hard to do it well. And this one knocks it out of the park. So it's about a witch. She's one of the few witches in Britain. Her name is Mika. And she is like keeping her identity under wraps, except for the fact that she is an influencer. In that she like is like a fake witch influencer. She's like, if this showed up on your For You page, no hashtags, like no tags, like it was meant for you. But she's like actually doing magic. So it's very funny. And so everyone thinks that she's just like a pretend witch, except for she gets a magical or random message one day asking her to come to this place called Nowhere House to teach 3 young witches how to control their magic. And so she moves in and there's these like grumpy old guys and this like standoffish hot librarian. And so she's like gone her whole life. She's adopted, so she's gone her whole life like feeling like she doesn't really belong anywhere, not really getting along with her coven, but she like has this found family and finds home with this group. And so she has to figure out how she is going to protect them and the little girls when a conflict comes knocking.
Found family is always going to get the check from me. But the other thing I'm struck by is like what I love about this format, where I get to come and listen to all of you give recommendations, is the books that I, in all of my years of just recommending out into the world, have put on my TBR, but I've never gotten around to. I finally go, I guess it's now, because I know that was in one of my lists when it was like coming out next month. I really want to read this. Couple years have probably gone by, still haven't read it. And I'm like, well, once Halloween is over, I will be picking this up finally.
Like literally, please do. It was one that like I think it took me about a year from it to coming out to like finally be like, oh, it's available on Libby. I'm gonna borrow it. And
Yeah.
I ate it up so fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And now
I
she
really like
already
that
has
book.
another one.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get to the old one so you can get to the new one. Meara, have you read her newest one?
No,
I
not
haven't.
yet. Have you?
I liked it even more than the first book. I gave the first one 3 stars, the one that you just mentioned, and I gave this one a 4. And I feel like people talk about it's irritating because people talk about how like the steam doesn't really fit into the story because it's so cozy and light, and I could not disagree more. Like I need a cozy story, a light story, something that's lighthearted, and then we do get a little bit of like stuff with the romance. Like I love that journey, and some people are like, "Oh, it just doesn't really fit the tone." I think it fits the tone.
see,
Oh my
I'm
God.
here for that. Also, Kayla, what does it take to get a 5 from you?
Oh, you know,
Me asking the controversial questions yet again. What audiobook playback speed are you on? And
What's a
actually, you
5?
know what?
here we go now.
My next recommendation is the perfect example of what gets a 5-star for me.
Oh, come on,
So-
segue.
Let me pitch it. Okay, if the X Hex was my popular pick because it has like 200,000 readers, this one only has like 17,000. And I think that's criminal. I try to make everyone read this book. And so this is my next community that I will now push into it. It's We
Mhm.
Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. If you grew up in the 80s specifically, like this is just such a vibe and feels like a time capsule for the time. I was not alive then, but I feel it. I feel the vibes. It's a coven book. These girls play field hockey together and they basically use their powers to win their games, as we all would if we had the opportunity. They're like also just navigating high school at the same time and their personal relationships and then also like racism and misogyny because we're looking at it through the lens of a hive mind and it's 1989. It just like is kind of a different take on things at the same time, a lack of acknowledgement by everyone in the book of what's going on and kind of a perspective of how it should be handled. I think the most interesting part about this is the hive mind. Like it's first person plural, where each member of the coven gets chapters dedicated to them. We get to know everybody, but we are reading from the collective we. We are the coven. We are doing this. We are thinking that. And it's just so unique and fun. And that's what I need from my 5 stars is something that is just a little bit different. Like I've been reading 200 books a year for 11 years. I get through a lot of books and I'm always just looking for something that's doing things a little bit differently. And Quan Berry is just so interesting. And it's like a weird book and it's funny at the same time. And I always tell people that when they read this book, they will get to know me better as a reader and what I'm into and what I'm looking for. I think I mentioned this in like my favorites list of when we were doing those intros,
Yeah.
but I didn't get the chance to pitch it. So now I finally did.
I'm so glad because it's such a good book. And that makes so much sense. It's the like weird, it's the unique, it's the what are you doing that everyone else isn't doing that takes to the 5? Like, that's what gets us there. Also, like, for y'all, it's only been a week, but for us, it's been a little longer than that. I'm following Kayla with When the Wolf Goes When the Wolf Comes Home
Yeah.
is absolutely the book she promised it was. And I'm saying that 40% in. And that's just my brain going, oh, there's the through line. There's the little bit of weird. There's the little bit of unique. And I think that's something we miss, because especially when we're talking right now about a theme, we're talking cozy, we're talking witchy, so much can fit into that. What makes it stand out?
And it's tough because a lot of the books that I love that do have a little weird element, they end up having a really low Goodreads average rating because it lands in the hands of normal readers.
Who don't
And
get it. Yeah.
they're
Or
like,
aren't
what
willing
is
to
this?
try. Yeah.
So I'm glad that somebody here is now going to take this recommendation. It's going to be their new favorite book. 'Cause that's what happened to me. I actually was recommended this book by who was it? Book Riot has this My TBR service where you can pay a professional to recommend you books. I know there are so many opportunities for free recommendations. Like, you can reach out to your library. I've done that too. And they can recommend you things. But I got this recommendation out of nowhere, had never heard of it. And now it's literally in my top 3 favorite books of all time.
Wow. Of all time. Oh, I love that. Okay. Meara or Bree, who wants to go next? We can throw around the order. We can whatever. Whoever unmutes first gets to go.
I'll go next. Okay. So the one thing I love as much of witchy books is gay witchy books. I think witch stories are so much better when they're gay, particularly sapphic. It's one of those things where, like, I get an email, it's like, hey Mira, there's another sapphic witch book coming your way. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And this book is kind of what unlocked that for me. It is Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. When I read this, I was like, these are just like my little lesbians. Like, they are just my little darlings. I love them. So it is about 2 girls. One is Tamsin and the other is Wren. So Tamsin is the most powerful witch in her generation, but she commits like the worst magical sin and she gets exiled and cursed. And the curse that she received is that she is unable to love. And the only way she can experience any kind of feeling, so she's just very like deadpan. Imagine like April from Parks and Rec. The only way she can get any feelings is to steal love from others. So she's like going around kind of like haunting through the countryside and the villages, like stealing emotion from other people. Ren, on the other hand, is a source. So in this magic system, witches don't just have magic that they can cast, they have to pull magic from someone who is a source. So it's almost like having, like in D&D, how you have to have like your staff or whatever, like thing of concentration, like it's kind of like that. And so Ren is a source and they're very rare and they're supposed to train with the coven. Obviously their magic is needed, right? But Ren's father is old and ailing, and so she's taking care of him, and so she has spent her life hiding. And the 2 cross paths after Ren's father has fallen victim to a plague. There we go. So there's this plague sweeping the land. Ren's father, who's already sick, has fallen victim to it. She comes across Tamsin, realizes she's a witch, and she makes a deal. She says that if Tamsin will help her catch the witch who casts the plague, then Ren will give Tamsin the love that she has for her father. So it's like very high stakes on what they have to accomplish, but they have to like learn to like work together and do this journey together and open up to each other. And obviously they fall in love. And it's very like quick paced, not super like down and deep in the nitty gritty. It's not super spicy because it's YA. So it's just like very fun. It's one of those things where it's like they hold hands and you're like, oh my God. So just like very sweet, very different magic system than just like a contemporary romance. And like I said, gay. So love it.
I mean, you had me at gay. Uh, but how would you describe this magic system since so different?
Just the partnership aspect of it.
Yeah.
Since there's like, it's just not everyone's independent of each other. Like there's a real like sisterhood to how magic works in this world. And it's not just like the kind of things where you're like, and then she wrinkled her nose and a cupcake appeared, you know?
Right. Absolutely. It's the like, not only are you not just dependent on your gifts, you're dependent on someone else.
Yeah.
Uh, well, Bree, your next pick, you've got one that
I'm
I'm
ready.
excited to see.
Speaking of the gays, let's continue our gayness. So I'm gonna talk about Snapdragon by Kat Lee. I hope that I don't know if I'm pronouncing Kat's last name right. However, I read this book. Oh my God, I've been on YouTube for 6 years. I at least 3 years ago. I can't even. It's been a minute since I read it. But what I wanted to talk about is that one, the art of this graphic novel is just too good. It's too good. It is. It's very. It's like the atmosphere is very creepy. But it's like creepy cozy. I don't even know how to make sense, but it does fall underneath of what we're talking about today. So Snap is a young girl in this town who is like, I need to figure out what's going on. Somebody in this town is a witch. So she meets this person named Jack, and they're kind of like Jack is she's older, and Jack does this creepy thing of going on the side of the road, taking a bunch of roadkill, and then doing a magical thing with their spirit, and then selling, what is it called? What is it called?
Taxidermy.
Taxidermy. She's selling these things online. So Snap is like, I'll help you with this roadkill situation if you teach me about like how to take care of these animals that she has. So what I found was most interesting about this is that even though it kind of seemed like a unlikely like duo between this young girl and then this older woman, they have a relationship that I don't even think they both know how they are connected in family. So like they're very connected, but they don't know yet. But you got to continue to read the book to figure out like what that connection is. I think this graphic novel is like really what I needed to read. I feel like this book explored interracial couples, root magic, intergenerational connectedness. I think a lot of times we don't talk about that connection between the youth and the old. And I think a lot of like my own situation of how like a lot of people can say, maybe I'm really close to my mother or my father's siblings. I'm most closest to my grandmother and her siblings. I grew up with them. So reading this book of like this young person trying to learn from this older person, and this older person unexpectedly learning from the younger person, and there's magic in the air. I just thought that that was really cool and dope. And then I also think learning about Snap's parents, and like it's just really gay. I just want to say that it's really gay. It's really cute too. And then like just talking about like gender expression and what chosen family is and what love look like, and how there's different types of love, because I think people think that love can only look one way. And just the whole part of like having to be connected to other animals and treating them with respect and making sure that you're making sure their spirits are laid to rest was also very beautiful while reading this book. So that's my pick. Snapdragon by Kat Lay.
I pulled up the description of this book, and I just want to say I want to be Jax when I grow up, because it says Jax is just a crock-wearing, internet-savvy old lady who sells roadkill skeletons online.
That's what she
And that is
does.
who I want to be.
I
That's
think I
what she
might
does.
already be Jax.
Yes.
Minus
Yes.
the
Yeah.
selling
Mhm.
taxidermy online.
Yeah, and I read this on Hoopla when I read it. So if you're looking for it, it's on Hoopla.
Yeah, you
Shout
can
out
find it
Hoopla.
anywhere.
Mhm.
It's so cute. The art style is so fun, and I love the chance to always have a graphic novel on the list. So
Mhm.
something for everyone. Uh,
Yes.
well, thank you all for sharing your picks. Before I let you go, what are some of your favorite fall cozy witchy traditions, or some things you love to do this time of year?
Simmer pots. I love making simmer
Ooh.
pots and letting those like enhance my apartment. Just like baking a lot of things from scratch. I love to make like flaky, crusty meat pies. Um, you have you have to go outside and talk to nature before
Yes.
it leaves you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's going to go take a break and you need to go talk to it while it's still
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
This is my favorite time of year.
Same. Same.
It's such a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love making gumbo at this time of year. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite things to do. Side note, because I'm a tangential person, Meara, I was talking to somebody recently and they were talking about how, oh yeah, my family makes gumbo and we put scallops and corn in it. And I said, so you made seafood stew. Don't be
Yeah. Ew.
disrespectful.
What?
I
Ew.
know, exactly. I knew you would feel where I'm coming from, because what the anyway, love me a Gilmore Girl rewatch. Love me.
Yes.
I also would love to watch Blade at this time of year as well. Wesley Snipes can still get it. I'm available and of age.
Well, I hope he sees this.
I hope so
Yes.
too. Please clip this so I can send it directly to Wesley. Wesley, how you doing?
And of age. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really dope. And I love drinking my cup. It has the Good Witch on it while watching the Good Witch.
Cute.
On theme, on brand.
Mhm.
Kayla, any good moments? Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty big on like coloring.
Oh.
I love putting on an audiobook, especially like in the autumn. There's nothing better than an atmospheric audiobook where you can like really feel the vibes in the description. And then I just sit on the couch and color. I have these really cute, like ghosty coloring books from Coco Wyo. I think they're one of the best coloring book publishers or like artistic groups of people. It's like a group, so they come out every couple months with these coloring books. And in the age of where like, there keeps being AI, terrible coloring books
Yeah.
everywhere, you need to find the good quality people, support your artists.
Can you send that?
Yeah, it will.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm
'Cause I have
also
a
It's so
team.
coloring
true.
like bag and I don't color because a lot of the pages suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Sometimes
have
the
to, like-
paper isn't good. Sometimes, like you said, Kayla, it's AI slop. Like,
You gotta have the right markers too. It's like a whole hobby.
Mhm.
It's not just like a casual pull out your
No.
crayons. Like there's,
Wait.
you can buy things. You can give into consumerism. You can buy 10 different types of markers and figure out your favorites.
Yeah, I do
This
have
is the
I do
problem.
have like the markers where it's like a different point on each side and like
Yeah.
a row of colors. And I also did
Yes.
the color swatching when you just know these two colors will
Mhm.
work. You have to do that. You have to.
Look,
oh,
this is one of my proudest coloring book pages.
Oh my
pretty.
God.
It won't
Ooh.
unblur, but I'm
I'll
so
send
proud
you
of
my
it.
address soon.
I might frame it.
you should frame it. It's really pretty.
And then my mom asked if she could have one of the other ones. She asked if I could give her
Aw.
this one. So
Oh, you
beautiful.
got skills.
yeah, audiobook and
Very cute.
coloring, top tier. It's
Literally
fully outside
top
activity.
tier.
Yeah,
I
And the
mean,
thing about coloring is you don't have to
yeah.
be good at it.
No.
you
you
don't have
don't
to like
like-
come up with the vision. You just have to
No.
like determine the color,
The
the
color,
layout,
yeah.
the what you want from it, but the image is there.
My best
It's
tip,
kind of like
pick a color palette. Just like
Mhm.
be like, I'm doing these 3 color families. Like I'm doing reds and browns only in this one, and then everything will come together.
And it's just like
Mm.
reading, like you don't necessarily have to go online and consume all of the content about reading to enjoy reading. Like sometimes reading needs to be an insular experience where you don't get everybody else's feedback and
You
you
gotta
don't
speak your
feel
truth.
like you don't feel like you have to like, keep up with the Joneses and like read a certain amount of books. Coloring's the same way. Like you don't have to go on Instagram and look at everybody's colors and like compare yourself. You can just sit there with a pen and enjoy.
Yes. I
That's so
think
true.
for me, I really love to audiobook in Candy Crush.
Oh,
That's real.
mm-hmm.
I like
I'm a-
what's it
I
called?
love
Farm
it.
Heroes.
I
Ooh.
play Zen
Similar.
Match. I'm on level like 2,000 something of Zen Match.
That's me on Candy Crush. But I've
That's
been
me on Farm
crushing for
Heroes.
a while.
And
Let
We
me
all have our
crush.
vibe.
and that's
Yeah.
me on the ridiculous RuPaul match. So it's
Wait.
the
Listen,
same. So
I
you
need
have
to
to
get the
live your
clip.
life.
I'm going to clip this. What's the iPhone game that you play while listening to audiobooks? And I'm going to put all of us saying our answers, and then everyone in the comments will be like, I play this game.
painful, but it's gonna work, and it's so
And it's
worth the
gonna work.
effort.
Yes.
Joe, did you
Absolutely.
have any last witchy books you wanted to mention?
Oh no. I mean,
I wanted to make sure we asked.
thank you. That's so kind. I think I will always say witchlings whenever given the opportunity to talk about witchy books,
Witchlings.
especially cozy. It feels like a cop-out since Claribel is in the first half of the episode,
Oh.
but I honestly think if you just came to us for the Rex, if you skipped to this part of the episode, go check out everyone in the first half or check out the link of all the titles mentioned or written by all of the authors in today's episode that will be in the episode description or on libbylife.com/booklounge. Look at me saying all the professional plugs, but I think Witchlings is so cozy. It is so thoughtful, and it really gives me hope that like children are not only seeing how natural representation is, it is seamless, it is not forced, it is just life. Like we all exist in this world, and I don't know. I think Claribel is just she's doing something incredible. And the stakes are there and the stakes are high, but like since I am not the middle grade audience, they're lower for me. So I can be here like, oh no, what's gonna happen to them? But I know they're gonna be fine. And it just continues on. So I think Witchlings is always fantastic if you're looking for that cozy balance. But then otherwise, I'm Meara, I'm with you. I feel like I'm always finding the witchy books to just gobble up.
The hard
I don't
part
know
was
if they're always
finding
cozy. Yep.
cozy witchy. That's what I was gonna say. Is like I have a shelf and
know.
a half right here. This shelf and half of that shelf are only books about witches. Only like a couple of them are cozy, and I was like, oh shit.
I know.
Yeah, that's why I
know.
messed
I
up.
was
That's
hard
why I
on
said
y'all.
I have to do what I have to do. Gotta put me first, Lucy. I gotta put me first.
And we're all here for it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for picking this topic, Joe. This is all I ever
Yes.
dreamed of.
So
Meara,
happy to be
ne-
here.
And Meara, next time I'll give you witchy to pick from. How about that?
Thank you. I went like dark witchy.
Yeah.
Perfect. We can
'cause-
do that.
Yeah, I'd have been ready for that. I would have been
It'll
ready
be
for
this
that.
group again, but we'll just do. Oh, there's bonus content right there. We might just do this only, the four of us bringing dark witchy options.
Yes,
But
I
with
got
that,
you.
with that promise out in the air, let's transition to me doing an outro. And that brings us to the end of our spell. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of Book Lounge by Libby, where we went cozy and witchy with it. A huge thank you to all of our incredible guests today in segment 1, Claribel A. Ortega, H.B. Akumiah, Liz Montague, and Travis Baldree. You can check out all of their titles linked in the show notes. You can check out there for the full episode list, or you can also go to libbylife.com/booklounge. Check out the post for today's episode. And of course, a huge thank you to our guest hosts in segment 2, Bree, Kayla, and Meara, for bringing us cozy and cozy witchy racks. Now make sure you're subscribed and following the show so you don't miss next week when we transition from the fall haunts into the cozy safety of the library. I will be talking with librarians who made the switch to authordom, and of course, the books that will be recommended will all be written by authors or take place in a library or a bookstore or have a magical tome centered in them. All kind of great things to be excited for, so make sure you are subscribed so you never miss an episode. Follow us on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to the Libby app YouTube channel for our video content, and of course, send me an email, bookloungebylibby@overdrive.com if you want to reach out with questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, happy reading! You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonzo. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.